Good morning, friends. It is a lovely, chilly fall morning here in Southern Oregon. And this is Journey Home Meditation's morning sit. We're going to be doing a bit of shared breathing together and have a little contemplation, and we might even get to a poem today. We'll see how it goes. So thanks for being here this morning. I'm Michael, and I am very happy to be here today. Truly am. So I think to get us started, let's just take a few moments to catch our breath. For some of us, this might be the first time today, maybe the first time in many days, that we have sat down to bring our attention and our awareness fully to the truth that we are breathing. And I know that may seem like a strange concept to anybody who has been breathing their entire life. But really, when we're talking about our attention, we're talking about where we are giving our consciousness, where we are giving our ability to live fully in a moment. And to give your consciousness over to anything outside of the breath is to be raptured in something that is outside of this moment in many ways. It at least has to begin. The moment being present has to begin with being aware of our breath, being aware of our breath coming into our body fully receiving the feeling and the sensations that the body has as it breathes in. That pause at the top of the breath to feel the body shifting. And then the out breath. Now, as you begin to make a practice of bringing your conscious awareness to the breath, you are coming into the body. So your thoughts and your body, your physical actions are doing the same thing. This is a rarity in our lives today. The ability to have a moment of pure focus. And to make that pure focus internal. To be present for and recognizing the sensations of the body, the emotional feelings that want to arise or that are arising in any moment. To stop the chatter of the outside mind and to move it into absolute presence of being, even just for a few breaths, can be an experience of elation, really. So this practice is a very vital practice for myself. And it allows us to also, as we become present and aware of our own mind, our own body, our own emotions, and our own spiritual practice, all at the same time. This is what this just a few breaths offers. We can also recognize in this moment, what I have here in front of me is not what I thought. It's not what I thought. My thoughts were and are generally around these worlds of, I want to just say anxiety, really. Not that I am generally thinking of myself as an anxious person or have an identity of anxiety or anxiousness, but when I really sit with the sensation and the feeling of what it is to hold a body and to have thoughts that are going all of the places that my thoughts generally go towards, it's holding on and grasping to something from the past, and it's not allowing the release to move into the moment and into the future. It's fear about the future and doubt and insecurity. Even in the subtlest of ways, that is affecting my present attention, my ability to give my attention over, or to pay attention, as we say. And so, in any moment when I am interacting with someone, in a relationship with someone, they are, in essence, in a relationship with all of my nostalgia and all of my fears of the future in that moment. They don't know that. They're not aware of that necessarily. But occasionally we might sense the glossing over of someone's eyes, the checking out. You can pick up on it a little bit. And I think that for many of us, that checking out is that moment where my attention in this moment, my conscious awareness of the presence of who I'm speaking with or what we're speaking about, just goes away. And of course, we try to cover this or pretend it's not happening. We learn techniques for active listening. People will go, yeah, when someone's speaking. And this is supposed to be to assure the person that you are listening to them, but really you're just thinking, is this an opportune moment to make a strange sound so that they know that I'm here? And meanwhile, I'm thinking about whether or not I remembered to take out the compost or bring the garbage, whatever it is. Which I did not remember, by the way. I forgot to bring the garbage into the can this morning. So we learn these techniques to prove ourselves to the other person, to make each other believe that we are fully present in the moment, but they're just more techniques. But a way to really check in any moment is to bring our conscious awareness to the breath. To feel ourselves and to know that we are breathing in. And to feel and to know that we are breathing out. So let's have a few breaths together today. I'll invite the bell. Thanks for being here this morning. Thanks for taking time out of your day to even just listen to the ramblings of whatever it is that I'm rambling about. I just get stuck sometimes, really wrapped in that moment of what it is to feel present in my body. And I just fall in love with it. That sometimes it is actually difficult for me to bring my moment out of that and into speaking or sharing thoughts. And that's a completely different feeling than I'm accustomed to having in my life. You know, it's just been a few years that I have been really happy to be in that moment with myself, to be in that space and to be inside of my body with my full awareness, and to not have to, run as quickly as I can to the first thing that would take my awareness out of that, something numbing and dissociative. Because I think I spent many years of my life really only being aware of this shield of shame that I think I carried. And still sometimes I can recognize its presence in my body. And I call it a shield of shame because it's like this force field that doesn't let anything else in or out. But it's also, in some ways, meant to protect us. We've built this to protect us, but we've built it with the wrong materials and with the wrong training, the wrong know-how. I think that many of us were raised in a culture, at least if you're from the U.S., there is a dominant culture. Now, we all have our closer cultures, the culture of our family, the cultures of our communities, whether we were raised in religious communities or, whatever the values of the people that we associated with when we were young, that our parents associated with, our caregivers, our teachers, whatever it was. In this context, we were raised, many of us, being given the tools of dissociation more than anything else, a way to steal our attention from us, really. Because there's this understanding that if you get someone's attention, you get their devotion. That's Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver said, attention is the beginning of devotion. So this is a way to understand that what I give my attention to is what I give my days to, what I give my moments to, what I give my life to. And I know that can sound quite drastic, What I give my attention to, I give my life to. So I gave my life to The Simpsons. I gave my life to Taco Bell and Beavis and Butthead for my early teen years. Yeah, in many ways I did, because what I did not give my life to in those times was my internal reactions to the world in which I lived. Because anytime I would turn to those internal reactions to the world in which I lived, I would be in a burning house, essentially. The house was on fire, and the children were alone, to quote Tom Waits. I didn't have a way to understand all of the things that I was being shown. I didn't have a way to understand all of the teachings that I was receiving. I didn't have a way to understand all of the pain that I was experiencing. I didn't have a way to understand other people's pain as being a factor in how they are going to treat me. And I didn't understand how my pain was going to be a factor in how I treated other people. And so anytime I would step foot into that temple of consciousness of my own, in my own body, it would scream and run out the door. So I needed something to distract me. Food, television, consumerism, purchasing things. I don't think I'm the only one here this morning who joined maybe multiple times the Columbia House tape and CD company deal. You get 12 CDs for 1 penny today. Yeah, I think that many of us that was our first introduction to being on debt collectors lists at the ripe old age of 8 or 9 or 10 years old. I know I started ordering those things quite early. But this was the culture in which I was being cultivated. I was being cultivated in this culture, one of really isolationism. I would get home and I would find myself being mostly alone as a kid. My mother had to work at least 2 jobs to keep us afloat. And when I was at my father's, he was at the bar. So I was mostly alone. And that means that I didn't have the ability to have other people carry the burdens of my consciousness with me. The things that came in, I couldn't bounce them off of somebody else. I couldn't feel soothed when the news was reporting its fear factory. And I think that maybe there's others out there that are also like this, also experience this. And so the intuition kicks in to protect ourselves, and so we start to build these barriers. And for a lot of us, I think that first barrier, that strong feeling of blocking myself from going inside, is this barrier of shame. When I touch into the shame, I know that I'm getting close to something and I leave. This was a protective measure against feeling the deeper feelings that are underneath shame even. Feelings of insecurity, feelings of having the ability to be rejected, feelings of fear, all these things. So we build this wall of shame first to protect us from having to be inside of a body that's so racked with pain. We didn't learn how to be with the breath and how to sit with uncomfortable emotions and how to shift our own thought processes away from going away and towards coming home. We didn't learn those things. And so for me, taking these first few breaths in our practice each morning, and feeling that sense of coming home, coming into my own being and into this place and into this time and into this experience and wanting to remain. Oh, it's such a lovely thing. It's such a lovely thing. When I first started to seek the help of others in ending my addiction to drugs, after many years of really intense drug addictions, I found myself back where I was when I was a kid, where this all started, being alone a lot, having no one to come home to, having no one to talk to or bounce these ideas off of. And I realize now that that was a making of my own design. I was reliving that experience externally and internally so that I could heal those childhood wounds, but I didn't understand that at the time. And I had made my life so insufferable to the people in my life that they too wanted to stay away. So now I wanted out and they wanted away. And so there I was. And I finally turned to treatment to try to help me with that. And at that time in the 90s, treatment consisted of 12-step programs. And the 12-step programs in the 90s were a little different than they are today. There was a lot of really harsh, old school kind of teachings that go on in those places. And one of the things that I remember learning was I remember being told that essentially I was no good over and over again in many different ways. You don't know anything about anything. Your own best thoughts are what got you here in the first place. Your best ideas led to your worst life. All these kind of things. And understanding now, after years of recovery work, understanding that this was just a kind of a piss poor way to teach some possibly valuable things. But at the time, it was just seeming to me to be playing into more of the shame that I was already feeling. And I remember one of the things that I would hear a lot, people would share this often in the rooms, is, well, I'm my own worst enemy. And everybody would nod, yep, me too, brother, me too. Somebody'd get up and share, hey, I'm an alcoholic and I'm just here today because I'm my own worst enemy. And these are people, some of them had decades of sobriety, saying, I'm my own worst enemy. And I remember not wanting to feel that anymore. I remember that's the feeling that I'd had for years that was already driving my addiction. I don't know how that driver that got me into this place is going to know the route to get me out. So years later now, I think about this, and I think that as I move through these practices of coming home, these homecoming practices of the breath and of awareness, loving, kind, compassionate awareness of the present moment, I think, I am my own best friend. I really am. And I share that and I say that to people because it's important. You're going to spend your entire existence in this incarnation, in this body, with these emotions and with these thoughts and with these feelings and with these histories and with these stories and with these narratives and with these tools and habits, and all of this is a part of who you are until the moment you take that last exhale and not breathe in again. To imagine living that whole existence in a feuding relationship with myself, that just seems ridiculous. And I know that there's a lot of us who wake up and we feel that way. We feel that, my brain's not a safe place to be. My thoughts are terrible. My body feels horrible. It's trying to kill me. All these things, all these ways that we have of relating to one another with that sense that we are not okay. That we're born wrong. I think that's a concept of the church that is very, very much flawed. So take some time to take some breaths. And even in the moments of the darkest days, even in those coldest moments inside, if you can start to penetrate that wall of shame that you have built inside of yourself to protect that inner being, you can pierce it with just the breath and kindness, gentleness, just presence with that shame, being, okay, there's shame there. I see that. Yeah. Thank you. What else is there? Just be curious. Ask yourself the questions. Really ask yourself. Ask the questions out loud. What else am I feeling? There's shame. Yes, thank you, shame. Hello. What else is here? What's hiding behind you? Oh, there's hurt there. Oh, there's weaknesses there. Oh, there's vulnerability there. Thank you. Hello. Oh, there's a wound. Oh, thank you. Hello, wound. Wow. That's a lot of pain, right? Yeah. Thank you. And you breathe. And you breathe and you breathe and you breathe and you bring that loving, kind awareness until it's a balm. Until that loving kindness that you're bringing into that awareness of those wounds is washing away all of that years old scabbing, and it's opening it up to heal, and it's saying, hey, yeah, there's pain there for sure. Yeah, I'm feeling that. But you know what? I've seen this kind of pain before. It's not the pain of ending, it's the pain of opening. We are birthed through pain. We have growing pains, this shifting and this opening and this learning and this stretching of our bodies. It's painful. The stretching of our mind can be painful. The stretching open of our heart can be painful, full of pain. But that's only a bad thing if you've never learned the beauty that can exist right there, just beneath the surface of that pain. When my friend Al Fowl died, I say my friend as if I was his only friend. No, that's barely true. Al Fowl had thousands of people who loved him. When Al Curtis died, his wife said, when Al died this morning, in the final breaths, he screamed like a lion. This huge roar as he died. That's the last thing he did. He opened his mouth and he let out a roar. And that was it. His last breath was a roar. And I just think, how beautiful is that? How beautiful is that to watch his body give birth to that beautiful soul as it's freed, as he frees his breath from that container. I think at some point Al became his own best friend. At some point there, Al, you could hear it in his music, he calmed down and he brought love and gentleness into his expression in the world, and then he roared as he left. That's just such a great teacher to me. I was taught once by a Buddhist teacher, a monk, that if you don't love your thoughts, then you become a stranger to them. And if you don't possess your own mind, if you don't possess those thoughts, you'll never know who you are. So you have to love your thoughts. Because if you don't have your thoughts, then you don't have your life. So there's large parts of our lives that we give away to the control of others, or to the, I don't even know if it's the control of others. It's just the dissociation from ourselves. And then our actions, they can be manipulated, for sure. And our inactions, they can be manipulated. All of these things come from how much we are willing and able, both willing and able to sit with who we are, to be our own best friend, to not dissociate, to not give away the moment, but to give ourselves into this practice of coming into this moment right here. And I think that's pretty important. Let's see about some Appalachian elegy this morning. We're on number 35. So I don't have the copy of the book with me, but I have it in PDF form on my computer. So I pulled up the PDF, and I think it's 35 that we're on today. Winds of fate, take the air, push it past the known in this world of nature, no one can undo. Mystery abounds. Hold on, I need to make this words larger. I'm going to start again from the beginning. Winds of fate, take the air, push it past the known in this world of nature, no one can undo. Mystery abounds. Harsh cold burns skin, fire waits, raging tempests sweep us, carry us toward destiny recorded, written down, past, present, future, change comes. Winds of fate take the air, push it past the known in this world of nature no one can undo. Mystery abounds. Harsh cold burns skin, fire waits, raging tempests sweep us, carry us toward destiny recorded, written down, past, present, future, change comes. Wow. Okay. There's this fantastic quote, and I don't remember who it's by, but it's written on my wall beside my desk in the front office of Journey Home Support Services. It was written down by a person who came here, and it says, "Everything I ever wanted in life is just on the other side of what I'm willing to do." And when I see that, push it past the known in this world of nature no one can undo, mystery abounds. Are we willing to step into that mystery, going into that unknown, or do we want to keep coming back to the known, the past, present, future? And I think that bell hooks is recognizing the human condition here, that sometimes it takes these storms, these raging tempests to sweep us and move us forward into this, what bell hooks is calling destiny. And then it ends with, what is the destiny? Well, the destiny is change. The destiny is transformation. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's where it is that we become so attached to who we think we are and who we thought we were, because we are afraid of that change because we don't know what it's going to become. And when we're afraid of something, the best thing that we figured out to do is to create a monster of it so we can fortify ourselves to fight the monster of the future. So we start off by, creating these ways to suppress our feelings, to suppress our desires, to suppress the things about us that we are afraid won't be acceptable. And so we push those things down. We don't wear our hair a certain way. We don't wear the clothes a certain way. We don't let people know about some music we listen to. We form these secret lives. And that's the first step of fortification, right? The suppression of the self to avoid being judged or abandoned or rejected. But then that ends up into building cops and prisons and bombs and wars and genocides. And I know that seems like a really big leap, but it's not a large leap. It's tiny steps. It's tiny steps from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And we're so far away from who we are at that point. We have to be so far dissociated and detached from that loving compassion of our own being to be able to be complicit and active in a genocide. Like it can seem unfathomable, but it's really just a matter of a veering in one direction for long enough. And when you've gone in the wrong direction for long enough, it can seem impossible to get back. But it really is just a matter of stopping right now and turning and moving in. And that tempest that bell hooks is talking about, that raging tempest, can take us into that past, present, and future change. Change your thoughts. Change where you bring your attention in your thoughts. That can change the way that you engage. It changes the way that you speak, which changes the way that you express. Now when we are expressing, it's the opposite of depression. We're no longer depressing ourselves down. We're no longer suppressing who we are. We're no longer repressing these parts of ourselves. We are opening, we are expressing, we are allowing that energy to flow through us. And it begins with a breath. It begins with falling in love with this moment inside of your body. So let's take a couple of breaths. Thank you, bell hooks, for that reminder that change is the destiny. So let's welcome that in with the breath. Thanks for being here this morning, everyone. We're going to have a disrupted schedule this week. I may only be here for the next 2 days and then be gone for a bit. Angela and I are taking a trip. We're going to go up to Seattle. We were going up to see one of our favorite music groups from Ireland, Lankum, but they had to cancel that leg of their tour, so we're just going to go and spend some time together and be in a different space and see some old friends and maybe some new friends. And so I'll be taking a break from the morning sit later in the week. But if you are interested, you can subscribe for free on Substack, and you can go in and see the hundreds of hours of these morning practices that I have recorded for the past 4 years, going on 5 years. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of this. And I'd love to hear your perspective. I'd love to hear your experience with what that is to come home into a body that you so desperately wanted to leave for so long, and to feel in love, even if just for brief moments of a breath, to feel in love with who you are, to be your own best friend. And if you haven't felt that yet, keep practicing. Keep practicing loving kindness, compassion, gentle breath, being present with yourself even when it's in that wall of shame. It's all right. You can sit with that. You can hold that space. You can do that. When it gets a little too scary, step out. You know how to do that. You know how to step out. And that's all right. It's a protective measure. So protect yourself, but do the practice. Open yourself to love. All right. Be well, friends.